When you book your cruise, you might be tempted to save some money by opting to book an interior cabin or stateroom instead of an ocean view one. Perhaps you've decided to save that money that you would have spent booking a balcony cabin, and you've instead opted to have one with just a window instead. But did you know that after you book your cruise, you're often able to upgrade your cabin or stateroom by participating in what's called an upgrade bidding program? This can allow you to get a much better room than what you'd initially booked, at a fraction of the cost of booking that room in the first place. In this video today, I'm going to share with you everything that you need to know about these cruise line upgrade bidding programs. I recently posted on my Facebook page about a cruise that I'm about to head off on in a few days' time. I explained that I had submitted some bids to bid for a better cabin, and I couldn't believe the number of people that messaged me explaining that they had no idea that you could even do this on cruise ships. Perhaps the most surprising thing was that multiple of these people that sent me messages have been on so many cruises. So who knows, maybe by watching this video today, you'll be able to get a significantly better cabin on one of your future cruises. If you do enjoy this video today, and if you find it useful, then please do think about supporting my channel by clicking both the thumbs up and the subscribe buttons. Now let's get started by looking at the two options that you have if you've booked your cruise and you're looking to upgrade your cabin. That's right, you've got two options if you've confirmed your cruise booking and you'd now like to upgrade. Option 1 is that you can contact the cruise line to upgrade your booking, and option number 2 is that you could participate in the upgrade program. Option 1 is much simpler than option 2. All you need to do is call your cruise line, speak to the agent at the end of the line, and usually they're able to help. Think of this like what you would if you were calling a hotel to upgrade your hotel room, or if you were calling an airline to upgrade your class of ticket. It's very similar to that, and in fact, cruise lines will have rates that they can charge to upgrade you between the different room categories. A word of warning is that in my experience, it works out much more expensive to book the lower grade of cabin and then call a cruise line to upgrade. So if you're looking to get a more premium cabin, then I would recommend just booking the better room in the first place. I wouldn't recommend trying to save money and then calling up using this option, because you'll probably end up paying more money. Some cruise lines out there will also just tell you that you have to take part in the bidding program rather than them being able to accept upgrade fees over the phone. So I guess on that note, let's move on to number 2, which is the upgrade program. Upgrade programs are really interesting because you can often get a much better cabin than what you'd initially booked for a fraction of what you would have paid to book that in the first place. But it's really important that you exercise caution when you think about bidding for a different cabin, because this type of program really isn't for everyone. I'll come back to that later in this video. But first, how does an upgrade program work, and how can you submit a bid to get a better cabin? Taking part is relatively straightforward. You'll usually be invited by email to log into your online account and submit your bids. Once you log in, you'll be presented with the room that you've already booked. For example, interior stateroom number whatever it might be. Just down beneath that, you'll then see all of the different room categories that are available to bid on. It's worth mentioning at this point that the online portal doesn't allow you to upgrade to a specific cabin or stateroom. It just lets you bid for a grade of cabin or stateroom. The reason for that is that sometimes cruise lines will accept bids on cabins that are currently not available and are in fact fully booked. The reason for that is that if a suite grade passenger drops out last minute, they've then got a wide range of offers that they could look at upgrading with relatively short notice, because it's much better for the cruise line to get an upgrade payment for that empty suite rather than leave it with nobody in it because of the cancelled booking. To submit a bid on any room, all you need to do is move the slider to the relevant price and then click submit. As you move the slider, most upgrade program websites will then tell you if you've submitted a weak, strong, or somewhere in the middle offer. Of course, the more you bid at this stage, the stronger your offer is going to be. It is also possible at this stage of the process to submit bids for multiple different cabin types. That's what I've recently done on the cruise that I'm going on in a few days' time. The cabin that I had initially booked was a fully obstructed ocean view cabin. I've submitted a bid for both a fully unobstructed balcony cabin and also a suite grade cabin. I don't know if I've got either of them yet, but I'll come back to that later in this video. If you are successful, you're not going to have to pick between which of your upgraded cabins you want, nor are you going to be upgraded into 2 cabins. That would be a bit of a nightmare. You'll receive whatever the best cabin is that best suits your offer. So think carefully when you submit them. Once you decide on how much you're going to bid, you'll need to input your payment details. This part is really important because if you're successful in securing that better cabin, your payment card is going to be charged. So make sure that these details are correct. So, how will you be told if you are or are not successful? Well, this part is pretty simple. Most cruise lines out there say that within the 7-day of your cruise period, so by 7 days before, they'll contact you to say either, yes, you've been successful, we're now going to bill your payment method, or unfortunately, you've not been successful. Now, don't worry if you're watching this video and you haven't heard back and it's only a few days before your cruise, because a number of cruise lines out there reserve the right to notify you much closer to your sail date. In the example of the cruise that I'm going on, I'm currently 3 days away from boarding that cruise ship, and I haven't heard yet whether I've been successful or if I've not been. The cruise line that I'm travelling with is P&O Cruises, and they actually reserve the right to notify you up to 24 hours before you board the ship. That means that for me, the fact I haven't heard yet isn't a good thing, but it's also not a bad thing. But to be honest, if my options were you can either not have heard and might get the upgrade, or you will have heard and you've been unsuccessful, I know which one I'd rather choose. If you're wondering which cruise lines out there do offer an upgrade programme, I've put together a list of all of the cruise lines that I've found with these programmes on my website. If you'd like to go there now, just go to www.FRASERATSEA.com, or you can head down to the description or the pinned comment under this video and you'll find a link to take you straight there, down there. Okay, we've covered the upgrade programme, how it works, and I've also showed you what it might look like when you log in. But as I mentioned earlier, it's really important to seriously think about whether or not you want to submit a bid. These upgrade programs definitely are not for everyone, and let's now look at a number of reasons why you might want to not submit a bid. First, if you've booked what could be your favourite cabin on the ship, or if you've booked a grade of cabin that you'd really like to cruise in, then bidding for an upgrade probably isn't for you. If your upgrade is successful, you'll then be moved from that cabin and you might be quite disappointed. There are some cruise ship cabins out there that I've previously booked in the past that if I was upgraded out of it, I'd probably be pretty disappointed. An example that I would give is an infinite balcony cabin. On some cruise lines, an infinite balcony cabin is considered a lower class than a standard balcony. I really want to cruise on an infinite balcony, and in fact, I haven't yet. And if I did submit an upgrade for a standard balcony and I got taken out of that infinite balcony, I'd probably be pretty gutted. The second reason that you might want to hold off on submitting any bids is if you would consider yourself to be quite fussy when it comes to cabin locations. Over the last few years, I've uploaded a number of videos to YouTube showing you cabin locations that it's probably a good idea to try and avoid on your future cruises. They might be cabins that are directly above or beneath nightclubs, cabins right underneath a main dining room or the top deck of the ship, cabins near crew-only areas. The list goes on and on, but we're not here in this video to talk about that list right now. If you would find yourself underneath the top deck being disappointed because you would prefer a quieter part of the ship, then this upgrade program might not be for you. Always remember that the upgrade program aims to push everybody up a category to therefore get the upgrade bid revenue by filling the empty cabins or staterooms of the better grades. That means that if you've got passengers who are paying to reserve balcony cabins, for example, probably all of the best cabins are going to be gone because people will reserve them when they book their cruise. That means that there's a much higher probability that the lesser in demand cabins will then present themselves through the upgrade program. For me, that probably wouldn't be a huge issue, but just be careful if you might be a little bit more concerned about cabin location. Next, if you've booked an adjoining cabin and you would like to stay in one, or if you have not booked an adjoining cabin and you don't want to cruise in one, then the upgrade program might not be for you. Remember that when you submit your bids on these programs, every bid is considered individually. If you're traveling with other bookings and you've linked your bookings, then that doesn't really mean too much when it comes to these upgrades. That means that if you've currently booked an adjoining cabin with other members of your family or with some of your friends, you might find that if one of you is upgraded, you're then moved to another part of the ship, away from those who you'd booked to share that adjoining setup with. On that topic, if you have not booked an adjoining cabin because you really don't like them, then you really have to be aware of the fact that within the upgrade program, there might be higher grade cabins that do have adjoining doors within them. For example, if you've currently booked a non-adjoining oceanview cabin, be aware of the fact that if you're upgraded into a balcony cabin, well, that might have an adjoining door. So if that's a deal breaker for you, you might want to consider not submitting a bid. Finally, if you've booked a cabin because you either want to be close by your friends or family, or some of the ship's amenities, then the upgrade program might not be for you. I've met lots of people on cruises who quite like to book cabins that are close to things like the swimming pools, the spa, the restaurants, the bars, so that they can find their way back to the cabin really easily, and they can also make their way around the ship much easier than being at the front of the ship on deck, goodness knows what. That means that if you have booked one of those cabins, you might want to keep that specific cabin rather than submitting a bid, because if you submit a bid, well, you might have to kiss goodbye to the cabin that you've booked, and you might have to say hello to a cabin that's not really too near anything. So just make sure you're comfortable with that. So that is everything that you need to know about upgrade programs on cruise ships. Trust me, it's not actually too complicated, although there are a lot of things that you do need to think about. If you've enjoyed this video today, and if you find it useful, which I really hope you have, then why not come and join me over in another video? In this one, I show you so many different types of cabin that you might want to avoid on your future cruise. These ones might be not too problematic for some people, but they might be your worst nightmare if you fall into a couple of different categories. Thank you so much for watching this video today, and I'll hopefully see you over there.